You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
Edit it out.
Freaking amen.
I was not prepared. I was not prepared.
Well, just look at us.
Hey, you.
Hey, man.
Get your dang hands off her.
I didn't know what to do with my hands.
That was the Back to the Future quote that I said a minute ago. Crispin Glover says it to Biff.
Freaking Biff.
Right.
Right. So what's up?
Yeah. I don't know. My heart rate at the moment, I think.
Has reality set back in, that you're back into the routine life now, that you're back on the mainland?
Yeah. It's for the birds.
Sure enough. How was the trip?
It was good. It was nice.
It was very nice. Well, I can tell you what wasn't very nice, being here. Working.
Yeah.
Not nice.
Not nice at all. I mean,
Brother Steve said something Sunday. I don't even remember what it was. Sunday morning, he was preaching about wasting time. And I turned to Kelly and I said, well, I know of at least 40 hours a week I waste.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to have money, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah, I guess.
There may be some places where you need significantly less. But
Or maybe we don't need as much as we think we do.
That's probably true. Especially if we want to let the government take care of us. Like some welfare queens.
Yeah. How dare they?
Get their jobs. I'll just kindly accept other taxpayers' money. And then I don't have to work.
I feel like I've put enough in already.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm almost 40 now.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Come on.
I've had enough.
Come on now. Yeah.
I've been working since I was 16, bro. Done.
Over 20 years worth of working.
Yeah, man, it's more than half my life.
Yeah.
And I only got 6 gray beard hairs. And it's already more than half my life.
Well, the cruise was nice. My throat's feeling a little scratchy right now, and I don't know why that is. That's a new development. Literally wasn't that way until I walked in here.
Yeah. Yep.
It's weird. The cruise was nice though. I noticed myself sounding that way as I was about to talk about the cruise, so I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
Needed to address it. Anyway, the cruise was nice though. The ship was the smallest ship and the oldest ship that we've been on so far. So that was different.
Yeah. Right.
It was nice because it wasn't super crowded.
Really?
Yeah, like remember embarkation day whenever we got on the Mardi Gras and there was just like people everywhere and it was nuts trying to find somewhere to just sit and eat lunch.
Yeah.
With all your luggage and
Or like
stuff.
in the sail away party, they're like shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah. It wasn't like that.
Well,
it was pretty chill in that regard.
What's the difference in the motion of the ocean
Definitely could feel a lot more of the movement of the ship
Yeah.
with it being a smaller ship.
What deck are you guys on?
I think our room was on deck 6. Our cabin was on deck 6. That one doesn't have as many. I think maybe it has 12 decks, perhaps, something like that. So
Sounds like it's similar to the one we'll be going on, which I guess that one is smaller because you've already been on the one that we've been on.
yeah, I think the Paradise is a bit smaller than the Valor, but the Valor is significantly smaller than the Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be a different experience for you guys too.
Pretty pumped about it.
Yeah. We are planning on doing Alaska for our 20-year anniversary, which will be next year, 2027.
2027.
So we are looking at one for actually the month of our anniversaries. We were married in May. May. So well, I don't think we'll be gone exactly on our anniversary. That's kind of intentional. We kind of want to be back in case there's like, because like Emma will be graduating 8th grade.
Right.
We want to be back for those kinds of things, graduations and whatnots.
Right.
So, but yeah, we'll be gone May of next year on Alaska. I think that's the next cruise we're going to take. I don't think we're going to take another one this year.
Yeah, I think we just have the one this year, and we won't be able to do another one. Our next trip is actually not even the cruise. We're going to the Arizona to run the ultra
Oh yeah,
marathon in early March, so that one's coming up pretty quick.
you should attend a Turning Point USA event while you're there.
Um,
Because
Probably not.
oh
I don't think they'll let me in. Our podcast is so famous that my face will be posted everywhere, and they'll say, "Not this guy."
if you see this guy, you get him out of here.
Actually, I could probably fit right in. I got the Kentucky accent. I look the part. I
Yeah.
could pull it off.
Well, I don't think I have it anymore, but I was gifted a MAGA hat at one point in my life. I'd give it to you.
I couldn't even put it on my head, and I would feel like I would start to pass away.
It would literally feel like hot coals upon your head.
Yes. I would just set it on my head and just start burning. Second-degree burns on my scalp.
My word, bringing hell down on your head. Uh, yeah. What are we talking about, though?
Well,
I gave you about 7 ideas, and I don't know that I'm crazy about any of them.
well, I told you I'm the worst. I have nothing. I don't know. But I've been finally got my essay turned in
Yep.
today. I've only been working on it for like 6 months. So for the last week, I've really been focused on that. And so my mind has been pretty strictly on Old Testament interpretation. Um,
Which the essay was good.
Thank you.
That was good.
I was pretty proud of it. I haven't received my grade back, obviously, because I just emailed it to him this morning. But I feel like it's the best one I've ever done. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of where my mind's been at. I told you even before you left, and this is still kind of true, but I'm in a really good spot spiritually and also kind of a really weird spot. I don't know how those two things go together, but they do. And so that's just kind of where I'm at. I don't know. But that sort of season where I was really wrestling with stuff and like had a ton of questions and like I was at that point of our dynamic, I could just come up with any kind of topic because I was wrestling with everything at once.
Yeah. Right.
And now I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not super wrestling with a lot of theological stuff at the moment. Um, I'm just on the Christian nationalism thing.
Yeah. That's always in our faces, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's it's uh it's like all that I see. Um, unfortunately, a lot of that is just because of the algorithms and whatnot, which
Right.
is that's a whole we could do a whole episode on that issue actually because like the algorithms they just keep you entrenched in you really do kinda have to be aware and, like, intentionally trying to not allow the algorithms to just entrench you in that us. Whatever your us is to your them,
Yeah.
it wants to feed you more and more things that are going to just further dig you into your trench of your us.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a heavy dose of that today, actually, unfortunately, because I had seen a couple of videos of some stuff that's going on up in Minnesota with, ice and all that. And uh, it's not like I was like interacting even with the videos, but I guess because I watched them all the way through, then like the next video was more of that stuff and more and more. And like on one hand, I'm glad that I'm seeing it. I don't want to be unaware of it. I don't want to be um disassociated from it, right? Like it's good to be aware of it and to see it. It's one thing to hear about it and to know what's going on and to actually see video of what's happening. I need to see that. Um but sometimes, man, like there's only so much you can see and you're like, I am so angry now, you know?
Yeah,
It's not really conducive to having a good day.
yeah,
And like it's a balance, man, because like I said, you on one sense you need to feel that rage. You need to be angry. Um, but you can't stay that way all the time. You're gonna have a heart attack, bruh.
mhm, and unfortunately, there is just literally it's like every single day there's something to enrage you if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It's out there. Like you said, you can't allow it to allow yourself to just be enraged all of the time about all the things.
Well, and that's the thing that you were saying though about the algorithm, because like there is stuff that deserve our outrage, and we need to be aware of it. Like just burying our head in the sand isn't the right approach. But there's good stuff happening out there in the world too, and like if you're always hyper focused on the negative and you're always in that negative headspace, like it's good to see that negative stuff because we need to be aware of it, but we got to balance it out with some of the good just so that we stay sane. You know what I mean? To remind us that there is still good in the world and that the entire world isn't going to hell in a handbasket. That there's good stuff happening and
Mhm.
good works are being done and progress is being made in different places. And yes, there's atrocious things happening all around the world as well that we need to care about and we need to work to fix. But if that's all you're focused on, you will just wallow in despair.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where to go next
Yeah.
because I don't know. I mean, part of me does wanna talk about the Renee Good story in that situation. At the very least, I think we need to acknowledge that it happened and that it was a tragic event
Right.
all the way around. The one thing that's been I've seen a lot of different takes on it from different people, some that I felt were more measured than others. One thing that really upset me though, and it's like, I don't know why, unfortunately, this is just the norm now. I don't know why I would be upset by it, but, like, the if there's anyone like, this is obviously a situation that is very sensitive. It's caused outrage from people on all angles of it, whatever you side, quote, unquote, "you take on it." I don't think we should be taking sides. They're both human beings made in the image of God, but, like, and one but then I catch myself saying, "Well, no, we do need to take a side as I say that." So, like, I don't my point is that the actually, my point I'm gonna put my point on hold for a second and address what I just said. We stand with victims of violence, period.
The oppressed, the
Yes.
downtrodden,
That is where
the
Jesus
least of
is.
these. Yes.
That is where Jesus is. We stand with Jesus. Um, but I also hate to see it is just a complicated thing, I think, because as much as we can think that it was a really crappy thing for this ICE agent to be like, F and B. like after he shot her in the head.
Right.
Like we can think that what he did is despicable, or you can think that he's a freaking hero. I don't, whatever you want to think about it, you can think about it, I guess. But like the point is that both of them are children of God, made in the image of God, and are loved. And even though God obviously doesn't love what happened, like there's no way in which God is pleased with that woman being murdered, being shot. It's I don't the thing that I hear a lot from my more left leaning influences is the thing about not dehumanizing and not demonizing people. But then I've seen a lot of demonizing and dehumanizing of that ICE agent. And I just want all of us on all sides of this to just practice what we freaking preach. But it's hard. I understand it's hard to do that in this moment. I understand it's a lot easier for me to say.
Who would ever think humanity is just not easy in black and white, but it's actually hard? Who would think?
And so I'm not trying to like shame anyone because your reaction is your reaction. Like we all reacted to it in a different way. And all of us reacted. I pray to God most of us reacted in a way that was of shock and like and at least a little bit of outrage, right? But like I don't know. I've been kind of upset by a lot of the different takes that I've heard. I don't think some of the takes I've heard, I don't think were taken seriously enough the injustice. I don't think some of the takes that I heard were taking seriously enough um the we're looking at the full evidence. There's so many different angles of videos and stuff like that out now that like some of the stuff I saw was older, so they may have just not had the access to some of the more recent things that we can find out there now. But I've just been kind of upset with the whole situation. The situation itself is tragic, but then seeing everyone's reactions has also affected me in a negative way. Um, but one of the things that affected me, going back to what my original point was, the one of the things that's affected me that really stood out to me as a super negative, and again, I don't know why it would be surprising at this point. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But like, if there was anybody that was going to go out in public and make any kind of statement about this situation, if there was anybody that should be measured, that should be like, well, we it's a tragic situation. It's tragic when anyone is killed, and evidence is going to come out, and we should all withhold judgment until all the evidence. If there's anyone that was going to be super measured about it and not take a side, it should be our freaking administration. It should be the freaking president, right? Setting an example for the entire country to not allow this to immediately divide us into sides. But no, what does he freaking do? That him and Christy Nome, the whole freaking crew, they immediately took sides
Yeah, of course.
before there was any real investigation done. They immediately took sides and called called Good a domestic terrorist. Like, man, that really upset me because it's like if there's one place we should be able to look as Americans for like a steady, like measured um, hope, it ought to be our leader. It ought to be our president, and we don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a sad thing to admit, but that didn't bother me at all. But only because I know who's in the office. I know what's coming. I don't
Yeah,
even. I literally probably could have word for word quoted what he was going to say if he wasn't such a buffoon that I would. You never know what's going to come out of his mouth. But I know. I knew exactly. I mean, to them, it's clear. It's a us and them. You know.
and like I said, I shouldn't be surprised by it, but
Right.
I never cease to be amazed. I guess.
I'm angry about it, and I'm pretty angry about it. Now, admittedly, um, I wouldn't say demonize the agent or any of that agents, but I am angry
Yeah.
at 'em. But more than that, I see I have an anger at the system, the beast itself, the empire that has put them in that situation and that they're a part of. They are a part of it, most willingly a part of it, so that's where some of that anger at those individuals for me come in. But I also can see the bigger picture, right? I know that the real power behind this is the beast itself, the empire itself. That kind of like what you were saying, where the person is at the head of the thing, directing what direction it goes. That's I sent you a meme today that was two people kind of having an argument back and forth, and one of them was saying, I don't even remember what it was. She should have, or she was trying to run him over, and the other one was saying, well, she was trying to get away. And then there was the other guy that was kind of like the third option. It's like, well, they should have never been there in the first place. And that's
Right.
me. Like, that's it. Like, the whole reason why the thing happened the way it did is because of what's happening that
Mhm.
shouldn't be happening. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah. And that's the bigger picture.
that's where my outrage is. Like, I have, as my algorithm has fed me more and more of this ICE stuff, I have become more and more enraged, not just in at the individuals that are doing it so much, but just the way it's happening. I'm seeing people like being racially profiled because they got dark skin. I'm seeing, the talk about people going door to door asking for your identification. And, like, I see the violence. I'm seeing people getting shot in the face with pepper spray pellets. And like, that violence pisses me off. Like, I am angry every time I see it because this is supposed, I grew up being fed the propaganda that the United States of America is the greatest nation on earth, where the free we are associated with freedom, and then to see this us delve into this amount of fascism and to see it be cheered on and wholly just supported when you watch it shoot somebody in the face 3 times and still just wholeheartedly all about it, like, that's where my anger comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. What you were saying a minute ago, that was one thing that I thought about today that, um, I thought that little meme thing you sent me was actually right on. It was exactly what I was thinking. I think I had it typed up to send to you, and then I just didn't. Uh, but like when the one that says, "Oh, they shouldn't be there," that's the big picture thing, and that's kind of when I was actually we were talking a little bit before we started recording, about we were talking about Old Testament
Yeah,
interpretation and how we've used the example before of like getting so stuck, like if you're reading like First Samuel or Second Samuel or something, and you're like hyper focused on this and what this is saying, and then you forget the larger context that brings clarity to this. That's kind of I had that same thought today thinking about this situation. There's so much outrage around this situation, and rightfully so. But like it's what that I think that meme is pointing to is exactly what the thought that I had. It's like we're not seeing the bigger picture that it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Like it's like this I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I know we say that all the time,
I know it.
but like it really does. Like if you just went down the fascist playbook, like we're checking boxes left and right, and
Well,
it's
and you know what really, like, part of that bigger picture that really frustrates me the most is, like, people are disagreeing on things that aren't even that we really don't even disagree about, right? Like, people will hear my takes and be like, well, people shouldn't be here illegally. And like, okay, that's not the problem that's pissing me off right now. Like, I am seeing people being first of all, I don't care if they're here legally or not. Nobody deserves to be physically assaulted.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody deserves due process. This is supposed to be a free country where, like, we respect human rights. Like, everybody's supposed to have due process, like, stuff like that. Like, now, if you're this is what I was telling Kelly the other day, but like, if you're going into people's workplaces and going into schools and stuff like that are going into immigration court where people are trying to go through the proper channels, and that's where you're
Yeah.
getting people from. You can't, in the other hand, feed me the lines that, well, there's these illegal immigrants are violent criminals and they're called. No, you're not. Like, if you arrest someone and they're a violent criminal and they're an illegal, get them out. Literally nobody has a problem with that. Nobody.
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening. I mean, there's countless examples of them picking up on United States citizens. Like, that's where the outrage comes from. But that's not the conversation that we even, if you try to have a conversation about this with someone, you hear the talking points that we're being fed from the algorithms that we're in. And
Right.
it's not even reality. That's why I'm so upset about it and angry. Like, nobody,
Yeah.
that's the part of me that feels like I'm taking crazy pills. Is it's like, this is, you guys are arguing and yelling back and forth about stuff that's not even the problem. It's not even what's happening. Like,
Yeah. Well,
told you it's gonna get me fired up when we talked about ice now. Because, and that really is the thing, is like, people will hear what I say if they lean more conservative and try to come at me with like open borders and blah blah blah. Like I just said, I don't care. Like, no,
right.
if you give people the due process, treat them with respect. You're not kidnapping people and freaking, you know what I mean? Just go about it like a normal stuff. I don't have a problem with that. No one has a problem with that, really. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. We just want it to be done in a way that is humane, in a way that is respectful. Like I don't, it really is the way he is going about it
right?
that is the issue. When I say he, I don't even know if I mean, it's not Trump, but like Stephen Miller has a big role in that, right?
Yeah.
Like which we can talk about him a little bit more later on, I guess, maybe, possibly. That was one of the 7 topics that I suggested. But like I already forgot what I was gonna say, I guess, about it.
Yeah. I just, I get pretty, see, as you can tell, I get pretty fired up about it.
Yeah,
But again, the main thing I'm fired up about is that it's a complete bull. Like, the people that would be angry at me would be angry at me for no reason, because I actually probably agree with you. But that,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, that is one of those things where I feel like, if everybody would just shut the F up and listen to each other, we would realize
Yeah,
we're probably pretty close to agreement.
right.
But we're so busy cheerleading on our sides that we can't even hear what's actually happening. Like, we don't even, like, to your point, we don't even wait to get the facts. It's just immediately, like, if you're more right leaning and you're MAGA people, if an incident happens between anybody and ICE, you're on ICE's side immediately. It doesn't matter, and vice versa. Like, if you're anti-Trump and you're more left leaning, as soon as something happens between ICE and protesters or whatever, you immediately just assume the worst about the ICE. Like, it's either way. It's so frustrating
Yeah,
because we've turned things into a team sport where we're just cheering for our team.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly what I was saying at the top with the algorithms. It's just that it continues to divide us more and more if we allow it to. And the thing is, it's like there's something about us that likes it. That's the problem. That's why the algorithms exist. It's showing you what you not just what it thinks you want to know, what you want to see, but that's actually what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's based on it. It knows, like,
Yeah, like I mean, it is satisfying something in us. It's not something that's Christ-like, but it is something in us.
right. I mean, that's, I remember learning about that, and because I was a communications major in college, right? And part of my, even though my emphasis was in cinema and television, my part of the three branches that Campbellsville offered in their mass communication programs was cinema, television, public relations, and then journalism. So you had to take like a mix of all three. And of course, in journalism, you learn like what sells, like violence, sex. Those are the things that sell. Like, people, what they don't want to admit it, to your point,
Yeah,
but that's right? Like,
yeah, yeah. It's just it's been frustrating. I do think that like one um, take on the situation, and that even feels wrong to call it a take, just because of the how terrible the situation is. But like um, the Esau McCauley podcast, it was him, Malcolm Foley, Justin Giboney, and producer Mike. He's on all the shows. He's like co-host, but the they were talking about this situation with Renee Good, and I felt like they had a really good take on it. I would recommend going and watching it if you're a fan of our show and you want to get a what I feel like is a pretty measured take on it. I feel like they did a pretty good job with that. It is a little bit dated though because there's been more information and more video footage that's come out since that one, but I think it was a good one. But um, Malcolm Foley mentioned something that got me thinking. He reminded I mean, I've heard this before, but he reminded me of it today as I was listening to that episode of Martin Luther King Jr. His letters from the Birmingham prison, or
Mhm.
is it Birmingham prison or jail?
I don't know if
Mm,
it's jail or prison, but it was Birmingham.
Yeah,
I am sure of that.
I think it's Birmingham jail is what its title is, or whatever. But um, the like the four sort of like tenets or whatever for nonviolent action, and I really feel like, I mean, you know what they are, right?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Oh, you kinda nodded like you knew. I mean, I don't know if everybody else knows, so I'll try to remember them and say them in the correct order. The first one is, um, to essentially gather all the information to make sure that there isn't injustice done. To do your due diligence, make sure that you know for sure that there isn't injustice that's done.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that we're not supposed to just jump to a rash? Whatever angle aligns with our preconceived ideals, that's we're not supposed to just jump on that bandwagon?
No.
That's shocking to me. I cannot believe that.
So that's numero uno. Already, none of us are doing that one. Number 2 is to try to bring, I may be getting this not quite right, but essentially trying to bring the opposing parties together for some sort of reconciliation, mediation, to solve the issue. Um, if that doesn't work, then the third step,
We fight.
no, the third step is self purification, and that's the one that really got me. It's the self purification step is to make sure for one thing, it's to make sure that you're ready for what's going to come. If you decide to act, if you decide to do some sort of nonviolent action, you need to be prepared for what's going to come because it may result in you being imprisoned. It may result in you being assaulted. It may result in you being killed.
Yeah.
You need to be prepared for whatever consequences come from whatever action you decide to take next.
So you're talking a Garden of Gethsemane
Yeah, sort
moment.
of. Yeah.
That's always kind of the way I have viewed that story in the Gospels in the past. Is sort of like his reckoning, Jesus's reckoning with like he knows what's about to come the next day, and just like
Yeah.
preparing himself, or as you said, not like a purification, like he's a sinner that's got to purify himself. You know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
mentally, just get ready, like because you know what's about to come. So
Mhm. Yeah, so, like, there's that element of the self-purification, but there's also another element of self-purification where it's like, it is that sort of, like, dealing with sin in a sense. It's a checking your own motives to make sure that you're not fueled by rage, that you're not
right,
fueled by revenge. Um,
retribution. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and that you're, in a sense, removing the log from your own eye, right? So that you can clearly see if you even can do that.
right.
And then step 4 is some sort of nonviolent action to fight the injustice, whatever the injustice may happen to be. But as I was thinking, he reminded me of that today whenever he was when I was listening to Matt. No, I can't remember what I said his name was. Um,
Malcolm something, wasn't it?
Malcolm Foley,
Yeah,
yes.
Foley.
Um, and so, but it just struck me when he said that. I was like, "Dang, man! Like we're just skipping all the steps and not
Right.
even going to
How 2026 of us to
the."
just
Right.
2026 America, just skip all the steps and get right to the conclusion.
Yeah, and some of us are skipping not to nonviolence, but to violence.
Yeah,
But then also, even those that are doing like nonviolent protests and things like that, I still think even if you think your heart's in the right place, if you haven't went through all of those steps, I still think that maybe you should take a step back. Even like I'm not saying don't protest. I'm not saying not don't do any of that stuff.
right.
But I am saying that I think there's a lot of wisdom in MLK's step the process there, like of before you act, you ought to do these things. I think there's a lot of wisdom there that we ought to adopt.
Yeah, I agree.
So, we skipping steps.
But that's what we like to do. Yeah, no, I mean that's an aspect of this conversation that I've wrestled with a lot today, actually, because I've already said it. I'm angry.
Yeah,
I have a lot of anger in me about it. I've watched videos today where I would see. I mean, these aren't even immigrants at all. These are we're talking born and raised here people that were taking part in nonviolent protests. From the videos I saw, there was no violence being perpetrated other than the ICE agents that were being violent to the protesters. And my initial reaction was, why aren't they fighting back? Like, there's twice as many protesters as there are ICE agents right here. Why you could overpower them? Why are you not fighting back? Like, you're watching someone be assaulted in front of you. Why are you not fighting back? Like because that's and I've said on this show before, I'm not naturally nonviolent by any means. Like, violence is my nature. That's why I was a good football player. I was very violent. Like that's my first initial response. Like, a nonviolence pacifism is something I've had to cultivate within. It's something that I have to be intentional about. So that's my first reaction when I see stuff like that. When I see injustice, it's like, why are we not fighting back? But then, like, I don't know that that aligns with the ethic of nonviolence and the example that we see in Jesus. But then I also think it's more complicated than that. You know what I mean? So, like, I've done a lot of wrestling with that today, as far as like, I noticed that anger, uh, specifically fighting back, violent anger rising up in me, and then
yeah,
I've had to sort of check that and uh, try to examine where that's coming from and why, and is that the appropriate response, and what is the appropriate response, and WWJD, what would Jesus do if he was in this situation? You know what I mean? Like, all of those things are things that I've thought through today and wrestled with in this situation. Um, I think it's a complicated thing. I don't know what the answer is.
yeah,
It's kind of like what you said, though. I think anybody that's wrestled with nonviolence, um, I think that's something that you have to reckon with, right? There's the age old question that always comes up when you're talking about self defense and violence, and especially in gun culture. It's like, well, I agree with nonviolence, but if somebody breaks in my house and they're trying to attack my wife and son, I'm going to defend them. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
I mean, I hear the argument. I see, like, would Jesus want me to allow something bad like that to happen to my family, or would he want me to fight back? Like, I don't know what the answer to that is. It's a
yeah,
difficult question. Like, anybody that has really taken seriously the claims of nonviolence, I think, has to reckon with that.
yeah. That is the question for someone who has adopted that that stance of nonviolence.
Right. Which it's easy to see when it's like you're, let's say, a burglar breaking into your house and posing a physical threat to your immediate family, but like, that's no different than watching a unarmed civilian on the street be assaulted and not doing anything about it. Like, should I just stand by and allow them to do this to this person, or should I interject myself and try to do something? Like, what's
Yeah,
the appropriate response? I don't know. I don't have an answer,
yeah,
because there were people standing there filming, chanting, and doing their nonviolent stuff, and it was not stopping that person from being assaulted.
right. Yeah, um, yeah. I don't know. Uh, Part of me wants to say that it is actually doing something in a sense. But I hear you.
Yeah.
I really do hear you.
Well, and I don't disagree with you either necessarily. I mean, really, I'm just what I'm getting at is the difficulty in it,
Yeah.
in knowing, having that discernment to know what to do. What's the appropriate action there?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those things for me that, like, um, you know, I'm going to sound real evangelical for a second, but like, but like for real, there are certain things that like you'll hear people say about in evangelicalism about like the Bible, and they'll be like, well, I don't like it, but that's what the Bible says,
Yeah, yeah,
so I believe it.
yep.
And it's like,
I've heard that a lot in my life.
but like in a sense, I am sort of like that. Like I cannot not see that Jesus is just wholly nonviolent. Like you cannot use Jesus to support any sort of violent action whatsoever. You just can't.
Right.
You have to. I mean, I guess if you want to take Revelation, like one section of Revelation, and say whenever Jesus is using the sword in his mouth, it's really we can use swords in our hands. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even using Revelation is tough, I think.
Right.
But you can maybe take the Jesus from Revelation and completely divorce him from the Jesus of the Gospels and say, okay, then you have your violent Jesus. But even then, it's tough to do. But like, if you don't do that, which obviously I don't think you should, I think that the Jesus of Revelation is the Jesus of the Gospels. So like, uh,
Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. I feel like would affirm that, but
exactly, exactly,
yeah. I mean, and actually, to me, what one word came to mind when you were saying all that, and that word was faith.
yeah,
Like to me, that is an aspect of faith. I don't understand it. When I see someone being physically assaulted, and my initial reaction is, why is nobody fighting back? All these people are filming them with cameras and they're chanting and they're performing this nonviolent protest, but it's not doing anything. It's not stopping what's occurring from occurring. It takes faith to continue down that path, to not strike out, to not lash out with violence, you know?
yeah,
And it really is another understanding of a modern understanding, I guess I would say, of what Paul says in First Corinthians about the cross being foolishness. Like if you try to understand it, it doesn't make sense. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to fight back? That doesn't make sense.
yeah,
That's foolishness.
right,
But do you trust? Do you have faith? Do you
yeah,
believe?
right,
You know?
yeah,
And like to me, that's an aspect of faith that's tangible. That means something to me, you know, like it's here and now. It's something I can see. Like I'm participating in this world that we live in today. You know what I mean? It's not some abstract concept that I have to have faith in, but it's something I'm seeing with my own eyes, and yet it still takes faith.
yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I think Jesus calls it because he says to Peter that Satan is asked to sift you like wheat.
You're never going to be able to quote that again without me immediately thinking about it.
Hasatan is asked to sift you like wheat. But he says it, Satan's asked to sift you like wheat.
Yeah,
And when, but I've prayed that your faith would not fail. And when you, how does it? I can't remember exactly the wording of it. And when you return, strengthen your brothers, something like that.
something like that. Yeah,
Basically, like I've prayed for your faith, and you're gonna be okay. And when you are okay, strengthen your brothers. Um, but like the sifting of his faith happens,
yeah,
and he says this before they go to the garden, and
right.
Peter pulls out his sword, and Jesus is like, no, that put your sword away. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
He said,
Peter,
"We don't do that here."
exactly. But like Peter did exactly what we're talking about. He saw an injustice happening. He saw a man who was um, innocent
An innocent man.
being handcuffed and beaten, and he wanted to. They were there to arrest an innocent man, and he wanted to step in the way.
Yeah,
And Jesus calls that a lack of faith in a sense.
I mean, it is. You know, we always associate faith with believing does God exist. Like that's sort of the debate. Like, do you have faith? When people generally talk about faith in church, that's what we're talking about. Does God exist? But like, we're talking about like, no, do you really believe what he said? Like, do you believe in the way of Jesus or not? Like,
Yeah,
that's what we're talking about here.
right.
You know,
Yeah,
do you trust what he said? The example that he lived, actually, not just what he said.
yeah,
Do you believe in it? And I don't understand it. And it's easy for me to say sitting down here in my basement when I'm not face to face with it.
yeah,
But I believe, Lord, help my unbelief.
right.
That's my prayer for it.
Yeah,
Because I do believe, but I need more. Like I need more faith. Like I'm not there yet. You know what I mean? Like I do believe in it, but I don't know that I trust myself if I was face to face with it. You know what I mean? Like you know what I'm
yeah,
trying to say?
yeah. And I don't know if that's ever something that you mature out of or not.
Right.
You know, I think that that probably is just a lifelong struggle with someone who has chosen this way of nonviolence. But I could be wrong. Maybe there is a point in which you mature spiritually to the point where you don't even, I don't know. It,
I don't know, but I'm not there yet. I know
yeah,
that.
yeah, I'm not either. But but I, as the Bible says it, and I believe it. But like, no, really, I really don't know what to do with Jesus' entire life. If his death, all of it, I don't know what you do with it. If it's okay to use violence, if it's okay for the powerful to, you know,
Yeah.
to what's the word? Like trample down the weak. Like I don't know what to do with
Well,
the scriptures.
I think you know. I think you know what I think about that, but
Yeah,
it's just to me the Christianity itself, for whatever reason, you know, my understanding of the earliest church, the earliest followers, the apostles, and the communities that they were a part of, was that it was about the way. It was called followers of the way. It's
yeah,
about this ethic, this life that Jesus lived, and some over the next 2,000 years, it became all about believing the right doctrines. As long as you believe, admit, believe, confess, admit, believe, confess, admit, believe, confess. None of the other stuff mattered. Like literally did reduce Jesus down to like Christmas, the incarnation is kind of important around December the 25th, but like the only thing that really matters in the story is Easter. Come on.
right,
Like that we reduced it to that. So none of those teachings, that ethic, the example that he walked and lived, that stuff doesn't work anymore. That's just liberal talking points.
right. To some, it literally is. That's crazy.
That's why I'm so hard on that. Like I think people probably get tired of hearing me say that, but that's why I'm so, and again, I'm aware, I'm pretty self-aware. Like I've admitted several times that I tend to, however much I feel the pressure this direction, I'm going to push back equally as hard the other direction. So maybe I'm too hard on it. But to me, that's where things really took a bad turn, is where when we turned, when Christianity, not we, because this is 2,000 years in the making, but when it when Christianity became more about right doctrine and less about practicing the application of said doctrine.
Yeah, you might could say around Constantine maybe is a point
Yeah,
you could look at
right.
on the timeline and say this may not have been the starting point, but it was something.
It's a milestone on the path, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in some of that, yeah. I don't know. I would have less skepticism maybe about some of that than you would as far as like the councils and
Right.
the statements of faith and all of the things, you know the creeds, all of those things, what their purpose was and wasn't, you know. But either way, yeah,
Yeah,
I hear you.
but that's why I'm so hard on that. It's like, to me, that's what it is. I mean, that's why people, like, when we use that expression that we've already used several times today, we feel like we're taking crazy pills, but to me, that's at the root of that. It's because, it's particularly like, the kind of Christianity that we're most familiar with, evangelical, conservative evangelicalism. It's this place isn't our home. It's all about getting out of here. And how do you get out of here? You got to believe the right things. As long as you believe the right things, none of this stuff even matters. Like, we're just trying to get out of here. Like, all that, not that it doesn't matter. Like, well, it matters, wink, wink. But like, the only thing that really matters is getting out of here. Like, you got to save your soul and get to heaven when you die. You're going somewhere. You better go to heaven. Like,
Right.
because of that, though, those of us who think that the ethic of Jesus matters, we're like looking around like, what? Am I crazy? Like, how did I miss it? I don't
Right.
understand.
I mean, I think you can do both, but you can't do just the one and not the other. I think, you can't just let Jesus save you and then not try to live the way he taught us to live.
Right. Well, I don't think most people think about it that way, though, because like it really is, in a literal sense, if it's all about getting out of here and just what Jesus did on the cross, then everything he did, the entirety of the Gospels, is worthless to you. It means nothing. Nothing he did means anything, except for what happened on that weekend, Good Friday weekend. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think most people who really hyper focus on like just believing the right thing and getting out of here when you die really like think through it to this like to that level where you're like, actually, when you think about it, that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm kind of just ignoring everything else and making it all about. And that doesn't, to your point, it doesn't mean you have to ignore Good Friday weekend.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a big part of the story.
Yeah.
Pretty important. But it's not the only thing. In the scope of those four books of the Bible, that takes up a very small portion of what
Right.
we're reading.
Yeah. Jesus spoke I mean, he taught the whole time throughout the Gospels. He's teaching you something. He's trying to teach you something. And what are you supposed to do whenever you're taught something? You're supposed to take it and uh, practice it, right? Like the majority of the Gospels are him teaching us and showing us the way. Um, he wasn't. It wasn't like. I mean, yes, there were several points along the way where he turns to the disciples like, by the way, Son of Man is going to go to Jerusalem and be crucified and then raised 3 days later.
Right.
Like in the gospel accounts, he does reference his death, his upcoming death and resurrection, but like in the like you're I'm just kind of restating poorly what you already said, but like yeah, if you look at the gospel accounts like that, his death and resurrection, even though it's a huge event, it takes up very little of the gospel accounts because so much of it is devoted to his teaching and his showing us how to live and with statements over and over again like the world will know you're my disciples by your love and it's all of the Sermon on the Mount, like all of it is showing you practically like what it looks like and the like all the references to bearing good fruit and all of
Right. I always think about, and this is just it, my own interpretation, my own understanding, but I always take that to be part of why when Jesus performs a miracle or does something, he is careful to like, for example, when he turns water into wine at the beginning of the Gospel of John, he says, "Don't you know it's not my time?" Like, or when he heals, he tells I think it was leprosy. He tells them to go to the temple, offer the sacrifice, do all the stuff, but like, don't tell anybody what happened. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, I think part of that is because if word gets out too fast, like he's going to be killed. He knows this ends in his death,
right.
but he has things he has to do before because it's not only about his death.
Right,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, I don't want to I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not trying to downplay the cross or the death on the cross. It's hugely important to the story.
right,
Key key part of the story, but it's not the only part of the story. That's the emphasis. Like,
yeah,
and I think that's the way I read those passages of where he's like trying not to like get the word out too fast because like this ends in death and he knows that. He's got stuff he needs to do and teach before like he gets to that point.
yeah,
And maybe I'm wrong, but that's why I said it's my own personal interpretation. But
yeah, and he says, "I've got so much more to tell you, but you can't handle it right now."
yeah, that's
Like,
actually something that Keith Giles mentioned. I just read Solar Mysterium.
mhm,
I think you would love it. I liked it a lot, but that's something that he mentions in there too.
yeah, I might have to check it out sometime.
It's got the vibe that you would like. I think maybe he takes it to a place where you would be like, yeah, I don't know if I want to take it that far, but like, yeah, the whole start of the book is essentially like, we don't know anything. Just admit it. We don't know anything.
Right,
And then he kind of goes through some of that about how our perceived reality is, like our own memories are unreliable, our sight, and, like just
yeah,
different stuff, and kind of talks about like that.
yeah,
So.
yeah.
But I thought you would be the reason why I thought you'd be interested. It made me think about some of our talks about time and stuff like that, about how we can't,
Oh,
our
yeah,
own perceived reality is not always necessarily true reality. And,
mhm,
you know, so that's what made me think you would like some of the takes he has in it.
yeah. I'll have to put it I'll have to add it to the list. Got a long list. I'm, almost finished with that Disarming Leviathan book from
Nice.
Caleb Campbell.
So far, because I didn't set out with a reading goal. But then you said you had a reading goal, and I was like, I can't let Sean read more books than me this year. No, that's actually not what happened at all. But I did after you said that. I was like, you know what? I do need to be more dedicated to reading because I will read for my classes, and then I don't read anymore until I get on to
Yeah,
the next class. And I was like, I want to be consistent. And like, I keep books by my bed. I want to try to read every single night, even if it's just a chapter or a couple sentences, a paragraph. Like, I want to read every night a little bit. So far, I think I've finished 3 books already this year. So
mm.
pretty excited about that.
I have not stuck to my goal,
Oh, there you go.
so,
I'm halfway through currently reading The Mediation of Christ or something like that. Baxter Kruger.
mm,
Shout out Bax.
yeah.
I like him.
I have, I did read some while we were gone. I read some of that, Light of Tabor, the David Bentley Hart book on Christology. So far, I think you would actually really like that one.
I tend to like David Bentley Hart quite a bit.
Um, I think I sent you that one section of
Mhm.
it where he's basically like, words are hard. Like anytime you try,
If he thinks words are hard, then yeah, they're hard.
yeah. Basically, anytime you try to talk about Christology in any way or try to explain the mystery that is the incarnation, like you're going to end up not sounding a certain way to some people and not sounding enough a certain way to other people. And like you're going to end up being a heretic to somebody somewhere on some level. So, like, there's
If somebody's not calling you a heretic, are you even doing theology?
right, exactly. I think that's exactly right. That's why I guess I should wear the heretic uh, like a badge of honor.
I'm fine with it.
I've been called a heretic before.
I'm sure a lot of people call me heretics, but I don't care.
It actually did kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
I've kind of that's actually interestingly enough something that I have thought about more recently and have kind of come to a new maybe news not right, but a more full like understanding let's just leave it at that. I don't know, maybe more full understanding of just labels in general. Like I don't care what people call me, like, or what I call myself. Like, I'm not so attached to labels, like that was there for a little bit. Like, I didn't think I cared. And then I heard some people say some things that kind of was, uh, without directly calling me non Christian, was the vibe. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at the time, I didn't think I cared what people thought. And that pissed me off, actually.
Yeah.
It did matter.
Mm,
And so that was something I had to work through. But
yeah.
it's just the labels and the way people are labeling you, and how do you label yourself and why,
Right.
you know? Which is some of what I was talking about to you today in our text thread about like the different, like it's just a wholly different religion. Like they call themselves Christian, I call myself a Christian. It's a different religion. Like I don't. Before I would have resisted that. I would have no that we're Christians. We're all under the same tent. We're all like no, we're not. We're not. It's the same. You could use the same language, but it's literally an opposite God, like an opposite conception of God. To me, uh, it's not the same language. It's not the same.
Yeah.
You know?
In some respects, I think you're right. Yeah. I don't think that that's always the case. I guess I'm thinking of Christian nationalism specifically because that was the context in which we talked about it a little
Yeah.
bit today, even though that's not really what you're saying right now. I think you're just speaking more generally right now, but
Right.
like in terms of like Christian nationalism, like I think there are some Christian. I don't know. That's really tough.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying like there is no way you get from my conception of who Jesus is to Christian nationalism where we're at today with certain aspects of that brand of Christianity. It's a completely different like to me that conception of Jesus is antichrist. It's literally a different person. Like I sent you a clip today where the person was talking about Renee Good and was talking about how Jesus isn't nice, he's mean, and he would, be against all these people, just going on. And I sent it to you and was like, "This is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know this guy's Jesus. I don't want to know this guy's Jesus. I think this guy's Jesus is pathetic. Like every negative thing that you could possibly say about it. That's what I think about it. Like I don't. It's a completely different God that I know. It's a different Jesus than I know. It's not even this. If in order for us to be considered the same religion, he is going to have to let go of his conception of his God and let me introduce you to mine. Like it's a different religion.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I really came to grips with it with the Buddhist monks thing. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but
Not all. No, I saw something about like a peace walk, but I didn't see what you were talking about with the
yeah.
response.
Well, and the thing is I've seen different responses, right? So, like, if, for people that don't know, there's a group of Buddhists who are walking to Washington D.C. They're on a peace walk, is what they said that they're doing, and along the way, they're stopping and giving talks about peace and love, and just general stuff.
Yeah.
And I've seen groups like because now most recently that I saw they were in like Georgia. They had went through Alabama and crossed into Georgia, and they were walking through Georgia. And I'd seen some like I saw one church I think it was in Alabama that invited them into their church and invited them to give us to talk in their church. They talked about mindfulness, led like a contemplation. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, contemplative meditation with the congregation, and I was like, "Yeah, this is great. Like, I love this." And then the very next day, I saw where there was a group of Christians who were out there yelling at them, picketing with signs, like red faced, just angry, and like that day, I realized in that moment, like in that moment, my religion aligns more closely with those Buddhist monks than those Christians that are telling them they're going to hell. Like I'm closer to the Buddhist. So am I the same religion as the Christian or the Buddhist?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's when you really think about it through that lens. You're like, me and the Buddhist monks would say we're different religions because we label ourselves with different titles, but we're closer than I am to these other Christians.
Right.
So who's really the different religion? You know?
Yeah. See, that reminds me of something that I remember Chris Green saying about, um, because he was talking about the, what's the right word to say? Uh, Pluralism maybe is the word coming to mind, but like, all paths lead to God, that sort of
Like
conception.
a broad perennialism.
Yeah. And he says, the same thing that I would say, which is that, all truth is God's truth, and Jesus is the truth. And so it's whatever truth is found in these other religions, it is Christ, from my perspective at least. And so, um, but what he says when he's talking about that is that the most devout, I think is that the way he put it, of the, the various religions are closer to each other than they are to the outskirts of their own religion.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're a devout Christian, you have more in common with a devout Buddhist than you do with whatever Christian fringe there happens to be
Right.
out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's what I thought of whenever you were saying that. It's like, well, yeah, I think that's probably right. If you're
But as far as labels go,
yes, right, yeah,
who's who? You know what I mean? Like, which one of us are actually part of the same religion? Mm, are you more likely the same religion with that devout Buddhist, or this fringe Christian who's so angry that he's protesting a peace walk?
right,
You know?
yeah. The irony there shouldn't be lost on us.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying that. Like, that's why that example made me so angry. And then I mean, I actually went pretty dark that day. Not like, I mean, I guess dark spiritually, but just because I get tired of that, man. Like, it does make me, that's part of me working through the label stuff, because you can't help but associate, because those other group call themselves Christian, you can't help but associate yourself with them in a sense. Like, if you're attached to that label, the same reason why we get so upset about Christian nationalism and stuff, because they use the label Christian. So, like, even though it functions as a completely separate religion, we still associate ourselves with the same label, so it feels like we're part of the same thing. And but they don't represent what we think they should represent, and so then there's that conflict. You know what I mean? Like, so it's part
Yeah,
of that whole working out for me of the labels and the way that we define our faith and associate. You know,
yeah,
something I've had to work through. So,
yeah,
because I did think it was interesting that same day. So I had watched the same day that happened, and then I don't remember what day it was, but I know you weren't here. You were on the cruise, probably thankfully, because I would have ruined your day that day. But for whatever reason, I was running on the treadmill that day, so it must have been really cold because I almost never run on the treadmill.
yeah,
But immediately after watching that TikTok, because I seen those videos on TikTok about the protesting the monks, I went and got on the treadmill. And when I did, I always pull up YouTube and like watch some videos when I run. And one of the things in my algorithm was this podcast where two Buddhist monks were interviewing Sam Harris, who is a outspoken atheist. Like, he's known as one of the four horsemen of new atheism or whatever.
right,
He literally wrote a book called The End of Faith.
yeah,
So,
right,
but he has embraced some Buddhist practices, like because he's a neurologist or a neuroscientist. He studies the brain, and like, there are meditation, uh, Dzogchen and Theravada Buddha meditation. Well, it has demonstrable benefits that you can see on brain scans. Like, he has embraced that. Like, he has an app now where that has guided meditations and all that. And so because of that, some people have tended to label him as a Buddhist. Like, oh, he's not atheist anymore, he's a Buddhist. And like, so they asked him about his faith, like, would he consider himself a Buddhist? And he said no. Uh, he doesn't consider himself a Buddhist because he doesn't believe in the absolute truth of Buddhism. Like, he accepts the aspects of it that that he finds benefit in, but he has no problem rejecting any of the stuff that he doesn't find benefit in because he doesn't attach himself to that label. You know what I mean? But then he went into, and he was actually pretty, because he's been pretty hard on Christians and Muslims in the past. But I thought he was pretty charitable, for him.
right, right,
But he had admitted, like with some of these other faiths, because that led him into talking about his views on other, aspects. And he had talked about Christian specific. He said there's some beautiful things in Christianity, um, He said particularly in the mystical and contemplative Christianity, and there's some good aspects. There's no denying some of the good that's been done within Christianity, and it's the same thing, some similar to Islam. There's good, beautiful aspects of it. There's good stuff that has been done through the world because of Islam. Um, but in his opinion, the way he kind of I don't know the words he used, but the way he laid it out was like, but they have so much bad stuff associated with them that you don't find in this Buddhist path. And I was like, at the time, obviously, I was kind of pissed off. So I was like, you know what? I'm tired of pretending like he's right about that. And to a certain degree, he is right about that. Like, there is certain, like, Christianity has done amazing things, wonderful things in the world. But it's been associated with a lot of really, really bad stuff too. Like when it goes bad, bad.
Yeah.
But I don't say that as a like, well, that means we should just ditch Christianity. But I do say that as a like we should think about that. If you label yourself a Christian, you should think about that and like really take seriously like how are we projecting into the world and what as a Christian, how am I representing the label Christian and the faith of Christianity? The example of Jesus. Because people are paying attention, man. Like
Yeah. Right.
I do think that the beautiful aspects of Christianity are absolutely beautiful, um, and we need to focus on that beauty
Yeah.
because right now, sometimes in some places, the ugly aspects are winning. They're the louder voices.
Yeah. Some of them are the ones that are in power and are using that power in not Christ-like ways.
Yeah, it's actually almost a oxymoron, right? Because to be Christ-like is to reject power.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Do we want to go there? Do we have time for that?
Do we get time? I suppose. I don't know.
I think that's the only maybe that actually I keep saying we have 7 topics, but I think I only gave you like
I
3.
think it was four plus one of them were kind of just like a tie between the four. So
Yeah. But the other thing that I talking about was that quote that I saw from Stephen Miller. That's his name, right?
Stephen Miller, yeah.
Stephen Miller. And it was just so clearly. I mean, we keep you saying the word antichrist, but what we really mean is just the opposite of what Christ teaches,
Which is Antichrist by
which is,
definition.
I guess, yes. But like so many people, not like Peter Thiel antichrist, like the
Oh no, I don't.
dispensationalist antichrist.
Anybody listening to our show should know that I don't believe in that kind of Antichrist.
Yeah, but just in case there's people listening that don't know what we mean, we're not talking about like spirit of antichrist that like in the sense of like the rapture and dispensational folks talks about the antichrist. We don't mean that.
I don't believe in the Antichrist. I believe in Antichrist.
Yeah, just anything that is opposed to the way of Christ. And so yeah, yeah, I guess we started down the path. I guess we may as well do it.
You gotta.
Let me see if I can pull the quote up
You gotta.
direct.
Actually, it was a perfect segue into it because the whole labels thing and aligning more closely with people of other faiths and the whole some Christianity is just a whole nother religion goes perfectly with this. Because
Yeah,
that's how I feel anytime Stephen Miller opens his mouth.
basically. Um, so this is the quote. Um, so Stephen Miller, he is the White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor. Um, and he said, "We live in a world that is governed by strength, that is governed by force. We live in a world that is governed by strength, that is governed by force, that is governed by power. These are the iron laws of the world that have existed since the beginning of time." And that's what he said. Um, he made these remarks. on CNN while discussing U.S. foreign policy, including aggressive actions towards Venezuela and comments about Greenland.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is actually, I agree with him. I agree with him. That is the way of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose. Yeah.
That's why in Jesus' temptations, Satan, the Satan, offered the kingdoms of the world.
Right.
But he said, my kingdom is not of this world.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's where the frustration comes in with it, is he's actually right in saying what he said. The way of the world has always, from the beginning of time, since, if you want to take, depending on how literal you want to take Genesis, since Cain,
Yeah.
violence has been the way of the world. Noah, the whole story of Noah's Ark was what? The world was what? Overrun with violence. Like,
Yeah.
the way of the world has always been violence, but Jesus's kingdom is not of this world. That's the point.
Right.
So, like, that's where the frustration of it comes in, is those people over there, the Stephen Millers, use Jesus as their mascot, but then openly say, like, no, we're following the ways of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like that statement, it cannot be more opposed to the way of Christ. It's it's so clearly antichrist.
Right. Which, to be fair, I don't know Stephen Miller. I don't pay him that much attention. I don't know that much about him. But I do know that there's a lot of people who align with him politically who do proclaim Christ as Lord.
Yeah. Well, I thought that
I was thinking he was Jewish, but I don't know that. Again, I don't know anything about the guy.
yeah, I'm not sure either. But yeah, look, it's just, but he's part of this whole administration that
Exactly.
is championed by Christian nationalists.
Exactly.
So it's if we need Christians in all these spheres of influence, right? Um, that's what Seven Mountain Mandate and all that. That's what it's all about. It's about getting Christians in these spheres of influence. It's about getting people that are what that should mean. I think is people that have their allegiance to Christ. But that's why Christian nationalism is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
You can't give your allegiance to both.
That is the perfect example of, like, yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like, and that's why you do feel all the time like you're taking crazy pills, because, like, once you see, it's like the people that are enraptured within it can't see it. And then once your eyes are open to it, it's everywhere. You're like, oh, yeah, this is definitely exactly what's happening.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Like, it's to those of us who, me and you talk about it all the time, so we're hypersensitive to it. So you see a quote like that, and you're like, this is quite obviously opposed to everything Jesus taught. Why
right.
does nobody see it?
Yeah. I mean, he says it pretty plainly here. I'm going to read this real quick from Matthew 20, 25 through 26. Um, it says, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones are tyrants over them. It will not be so among you, but whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant, and whoever wishes to be first among you must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, to give his life a ransom for many." That is, Stephen Miller is directly rejecting Jesus, Jesus' words here.
I just think that the wording of it, I'm 100% sure he didn't mean to, but the way he worded his initial quote that you read was just so perfect. Really, it really was, because he used the exact phrase that was the ways of the world, from, like, how, whatever it was, the quote, but he definitely used the phrase way. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's literally the point. As Christians, is you're not proclaiming Caesar as Lord. The ways of the world aren't supposed to be your way. So by proclaiming that violence is the way of the world, you are implicitly saying, if you're a Christian, we should be rejecting that.
Yeah.
But instead, that's a rallying cry.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I told you today I was hopeful, and I guess I am. I can't help but not be at least somewhat hopeful.
You've got to be a little bit hopeful because out of the two of us, you were the hopeful one.
Yeah.
You got to stay strong for the both of us, Sean.
Well, like, it's hard. It's just hard to see that kind of stuff and not be bogged down by it. To just see a constant outflow of what is supposed to be God's anointed acting very unchristlike, and the whole administration saying things like this that are just clearly antichrist. It just really does get you bogged down if you, I guess, if you let it. And sometimes I let it, but I don't know that book, the Disarming Leviathan by Caleb Campbell. It actually has been a pretty has given me some hope. And I was listening today. He has a podcast also called Disarming Leviathan, and on the podcast he had Tim Alberta. The We've talked about him on here before. He's the author of the Kingdom, the Power, and the Glory. And at the moment, I felt really uplifted. Actually, as we've been talking through this, I've kind of got a little depressed about it. But
This is not my fault. I did not harsh your vibe.
I know. Um, a reality harsh my vibe, I guess.
Exactly.
But yeah, the one thing that Tim Alberta brought up that I thought was a pretty good point was that Christianity tends to thrive when it's what's the word? He used a way better word than what I'm thinking of for it. When it's not fashionable, but he used a way better word than that. When it's countercultural.
It's a pretty good word. Pretty solid.
Christianity tends to thrive when it's counterculture. But the thing is, there's a lot of folks that would say, yeah, it is countercultural. We're going against the culture because the culture wants to trans your kids or whatever the
They
current
want to turn the frogs gay.
whatever the current fear is driving us instead of the faith. But like I actually think that he's dead on though. I think that like, but it's that right now there is a sort of cultural Christianity
Yeah.
that is responsible for the administration that we have at the moment. 80 some odd percent of white evangelicals voted for Trump, and
Doo doo.
there is a certain kind of cultural Christianity right now. So, but that doesn't mean so to be countercultural sometimes even means counter to whatever the current Christian culture happens to be.
Right. I mean, that's really exactly where, like, what I was getting at with the whole labels thing, really, because even hearing you, like, part of what was bogging you down was because these people are Christians, like they're using that label Christian, and it makes you like that sadness. Not that you wouldn't be upset about it, but you wouldn't feel what you're feeling necessarily as deeply as you are if it was the Scientologists doing it. You don't have that emotion, like you don't share their religion, like, but it's because it's a part of your religion. It makes you feel something
Right.
within, you know what I mean? Like, but what you're naming there, like, that's just a way of naming a different religion. It's not even, that's not the same Christianity, it's a cultural Christianity. It's just that's what we'll call it. That's what we'll call that new religion.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like it wouldn't upset me. as much. I mean, this is kind of just saying what you said in a different way, but like it wouldn't bother me as much if they weren't using the same scriptures and
Right,
referring to Jesus
right,
and saying that acting as if this is what Christ taught. And
right,
that's what bugs me because I think like you used the example today of like it's a we're talking about a red pen and a blue pen. They're just not. It's like getting mad at the red pen for not writing in blue.
right.
But like to me, what I said back to you, and this is it. It seems to me like actually what we're doing is I'm mad at the red pen for saying it's a blue pen. That's what the anger is.
Yeah, right,
It's not that like I guess I shouldn't be mad. It's not that I'm mad that the red pen isn't writing blue. It's that I'm mad that the red pen is saying it's a blue pen, but it's writing in red.
right. And that's extra layer to it is it's not just that it's a different religion, but it's a different religion, but they've co-opted your symbols and language, or
Yeah,
our symbols and language, and so it's not just a different language, but it's sort of like you've taken my language and my symbols and my the things that I hold dearly and have, and the word that comes to mind is bastardized them,
right.
like
Perverted them. Yeah,
perverted them. Yeah,
yeah. Well, I don't know who even listens at this point. I don't know if it's anybody that cares to hear our takes on these things or not, but
probably everybody's hearing this one. It's blowing up.
think so.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe it shouldn't.
We're reaching the world with this one. This is the one that puts BPC on top.
Hmm. I don't know
World domination, so that we will have the power, and then we can dominate everybody else, and we can lord our power over others,
exactly. Like Jesus.
like the iron fist of Jesus.
Yes. Um, he does roll with a rod of iron, doesn't he?
A rod of iron, not an iron fist.
A rod of iron.
Iron.
Iron. According to the book of Revelation. But where is the iron rod that's in its hand? In his hand. We don't have the camera set up where I can spread my arms out. But it's at the cross, guys. That's where he has the rod of iron in his hand.
Duh.
Of course, the nails. The iron nails.
That's one of the things that I've loved in the that I've come to a greater appreciation of in the Old Testament interpretation, right? Is that when you find stuff like that where it's like, no, it happened, but it's wholly opposite of what you expect. Right. Like I use the example in my paper on my in my essay of Jonah, and like we've talked about it on here before a million
Yeah.
times, is the destroy like the mandate that God gave to Jonah was that Nineveh was going to be destroyed. Like
Yeah.
period. There is no caveats to it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. They're going to be destroyed, but then no fire rained down from heaven. Did God change his mind? Did God, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, no, Nineveh was destroyed. It just didn't look like what you thought it was going to look like. But it was
Right.
a whole new creation, like
Yeah.
the same thing with what you were just saying about the rod of iron. Like it says rod of iron. Yeah, he ruled the nations with a rod of iron. It just didn't look like what you think that means.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that aspect of like the upside downness. It all like we expect the King of Kings to ride into Jerusalem on a war horse, and he rides in on the donkey of peace.
Yeah.
Like
His crown is a crown of thorns.
right. If you,
Throne is
those
a
who seek
cross.
to gain their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will gain it. Like it's the
Yeah.
complete opposite of what you expect.
Right. Yeah.
I came not to serve to serve. I came not to be served, but to serve. Like that's
Yeah.
the opposite. Like that's not what we expect. I love that. I love it.
Yeah. It is upside down. Or it's right side up and we're upside down. One or the other.
Yeah, I think it's probably word the upside down ones, but from our perspective, it's upside down. So I go with that.
Yeah. Oh. Well, got a lot to pray about.
Yeah, you do.
No, I think that is an important element to this, though. I mean, if nothing else, all of the turmoil in the world, all the stuff that is bogging me down, so to speak. All the chaos in the world, all of that should drive us to pray at the very least, and then that prayer should turn into action of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my goals for the year was to enhance my prayer life.
Yeah,
So you see how that's paying off for me. I'm just full of anger and vitriol.
yeah,
Actually, I've been pretty, other than the anger at the whole ICE situation currently in the world, I've been pretty in a pretty good space.
yeah. I was doing fine on the cruise.
I'm sure. I'm sure you were.
But then you come back to reality and on the cruise, like, we don't wanna pay for the extra Wi-Fi, so Candace is the only one that has internet access to, like, I literally have no use of my phone other than the Hub app that shows you the schedule of the
Yeah.
events for the day, or, um, I have, like, music or audiobooks I downloaded
Yeah.
from Spotify so I could listen to them offline. Outside of that, I had, like, nothing. So,
It's kind of nice though, right?
yeah, it's kinda nice being a little unplugged and not having all the stuff. I did miss being able I Google stuff all of the time.
Mm.
I did miss Google. I miss ChatGPT too, 'cause I had lots of questions.
And then you forgot them before you actually got to ask them.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's a good idea or not, because ChatGPT can be wrong.
Yeah, it can be. But I think it's important to, it's all, we've talked about it before. It's all about how you use it. As long as you know what you're dealing with and how to use it, I think it's a good tool.
Yeah.
But as long as you don't think it is God, like I'm going to ask it everything and it's going to give me all the perfect answers and everything's going to be good, you know?
It's the Holy Spirit.
But one could say that perhaps God could work through it.
Mhm.
It's no more outrageous claim than anything. Yeah, you know?
What was it that Joseph said to his brothers?
He said, "You guys suck. Look at my sick jacket."
Well, he may have. That's not the one I was thinking of.
He said that, and then he did a twirl, and like it flipped around behind him, and then he did the Degeneration X sign. Suck it. And then they sold him into slavery.
Yes. They
That's in the Nathan Sutherland translation.
they what did they kill? They killed something and, like, put blood on his
Yeah, I don't
coat
remember what
too.
it was, but they did do that. Anyway, what did he say?
Well, they sold him into slavery, and that, later on, he says, "What you meant for evil, God meant for good,"
Right.
essentially. So, if, uh, if that weird situation can be turned for good, then surely anything can.
For sure. All kinds of lessons you can get out of that story. Don't make multicolored jackets for your children unless you're going to make one for everybody.
Right.
Don't gloat about it,
Mhm.
and then don't give them the Degeneration X suck it sign.
Don't walk around so smug.
Yeah. Freaking Joseph.
You guy, you. Well, are we ready to wrap up?
I'm ready. I kind of like how this one has a counter at the top so you can see how long you've been going.
I know the other one does too, but it's much smaller.
Yeah.
This one is just right there.
Usually
Kapow!
usually I can't see it from where I sit, but on this one I can. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done. I've run my mouth enough.
Yeah, I think we've said plenty. Maybe too much.
Probably too
But
much.
I would like to say is if you're anyone that actually may have been offended is not listening at this point, so it doesn't matter. The words that I'm about to say don't matter probably. But I would like to say, you know, we're just giving our thoughts and our opinions here. Um,
And I will say that if you disagree with anything I said, that you can eat a fart.
I wasn't finished.
I didn't mean that. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding.
It's
I'm
fine.
just kidding. My gosh.
You said you needed to increase your prayer life there, give you something to repent about.
True.